some good, like a lot of good sort of indie or freeware games seem to come out that PCs don't often talk about.
Yeah.
Do seem quite cool, and there are some good ones on the Xbox as well. Like I had that Brave I was telling you about, where you got the whole time manipulation thing.
Yeah.
Very clever.
But it's just, the thing is, nowadays the first person shooter is now everything's got to be gimmick, and so with Crysis it was the fact that you could go invisible, and with you've got bullet time, and you've got this and you've got that. Fear had that slow motion effect and all that, and it's like, well, yeah, but at the end of the day, and as we've said so many times before, you are still just fucking running down a corridor with a big gun shooting everything in front of you.
Yeah.
And there's a few games that have done that really well: GoldenEye, Doom, Duke Nukem, Half-Life 2.
Yeah.
If you've played them, you've played them all.
Well, Half-Life 2 was, to me, wasn't as amazing as Half-Life 1. But
no.
It was a continuation of the story. The story was still good and interesting, and there was stuff happening. But the game itself, I don't think ever quite lived up to sort of what I hoped it would be.
Well, no, because Half-Life 1 was such a massive milestone, and everything that came from it, Day of Defeat, Counter-Strike, Firearms, all that stuff. I mean, online gaming was changed because of Half-Life and Counter-Strike.
Yeah,
and it'll never be the same again. I mean, Battlefield 2 is a direct descendant of Counter-Strike.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not a direct descendant of Operation Flashpoint, because it's nothing like, yeah, it's got vehicles in it, and yeah, it's got bigger landscapes and all that, but it is still just basically team deathmatch.
Yeah.
So, and that was really a direct descendant of Quake, which was a direct descendant of Doom, but I think Half-Life and Counter-Strike did it so well.
I think people, the problem with Doom, they always had multiplayer Quake, and that was massive, and Quake 2, but you were always set in that same era, weren't you?
Yeah, and it was a little bit, I think the thing about Counter-Strike was it sort of brought the whole idea of online gaming into realism. And alright, Counter-Strike wasn't particularly realistic, but I would much rather have a game of Counter-Strike than a game of Battlefield, because whenever I play Battlefield, I always end up coming up against something I can't kill because I haven't got the correct weapons. And the thing about Counter-Strike was it didn't matter what weapons you had. Even if you only had a knife, you had the chance of killing that other person.
Yeah, my biggest problem with Matt loves Battlefield. My biggest problem with Battlefield is I could never. I mean, I bought the first one and the second one, but with the second one especially, I could never get into a game. You would start, get killed, get killed.
Yeah.
You'd be like,
There'd be no vehicles anywhere. No one would be working as part of a squad.
No.
It's like Day of Defeat. Day of Defeat, we always wanted to play together, and we always used to say, right, you get a machine gun and I'll get a rifle and I'll cover your back, and it never happened. And it never happened for a very good reason. Day of Defeat is a single player game. The only thing is you are playing against other people, but you're playing it on your own. You're not playing it as part of a squad. Alright, your team needs to win, and you do need teamwork to win it. But by teamwork, that means going for the same flag. It doesn't mean sticking together.
No.
It's completely different to what we do, which is sneaking around, blowing shit up and killing people, when we've found a patch of ground that we can actually do it in and all that sort of stuff.
The problem is, with a game like Day of Defeat, because it's fully multiplayer, it's very difficult to stick together because there is no prediction. Whereas we know how a AI sort of an infantry regiment would maybe or would normally happen when we're watching them, we see what they're doing. Whereas in an online multiplayer game, it's sort of hectic. The humans run around like headless.
The reason is because in online multiplayer, where every character is controlled by a human, the humans can't be bored. Otherwise, there's no point in playing the game.
Exactly.
So you're never going to get a human walking a fucking patrol, just plodding along, being bored, smoking a cigarette, mumbling to himself, whatever. That's why GoldenEye was such a good game. That's why GoldenEye was such a good game, because the guards would stand there and swat flies and all that, and it sort of elevated the level of realism.
Yeah, you can't have a realistic game, I don't think, with all human players, because every human player is playing it to get a quick fix, and that's not real, is it?
Exactly. The only way it would be realistic is if it was on 24 hours a day and you were actually sat in front of your computer for those 24 hours, and you had to sleep, you had to watch, you had a commanding officer who said do this, do that, and if you didn't do it, they shot you and you could never play the game again. So you had to fucking play by the rules, and no one is ever going to play a game like that, and no one would ever want to, and why would they?
No.
So that's why you need artificial intelligence. And Paul always slags me off because I only shoot AI and it's easy and it's a lot easier than shooting human players. But this fucking points out that it really isn't. Because they can fucking shoot you through grass, they can shoot you through trees, they fucking see you, and all their mates know exactly where you are. You know.
Well, I mean, I'd like to maybe. What I wouldn't mind doing with this is, I'd quite like to play a game of, say, almost like a simulation of a paintball game.
Yeah.
Arma 2. So say it's like a village assault. So
Yeah.
the defenders are not allowed to leave the perimeter, something like that. And then you know you could take your time attacking because they can't suddenly jump in a fucking helicopter and fly. You know.
Yeah.
They're limited to the village. You plan your attack as a group, 4 of you or however many, and I'd quite like to play something like that. That would be interesting, and that would be a little bit more realistic because it simulates like a skirmish.
Yeah, exactly. And then the enemy would be behaving as humans because they would be humans. But
That's
the problem is that humans will always think outside the box. They will always do what their commanding officer wouldn't let them do if they're not in the army and know that they'll get punished for it.
Yeah.
You know, the reason that people run it fucking machine gun nest is because they've been told to do it and they've been brainwashed to do what they're told.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, if I said to you, right, Martin, run at that fucking machine gun nest, you'd say, you run at the fucking machine gun nest.
Yeah.